The courtroom was silent, but the tension was louder than any scream. A mother threatened with removal, a witness fighting for breath, and a judge who'd finally had enough. What started as a routine session exploded into warnings, outbursts, and testimony so graphic, even the officers paused before speaking it aloud.
No further questions, yeah. Thank you. Any redirect?
If I may briefly.
You go ahead.
The visits that the defendant was granted with her daughter, True, as of January 1st, those visits were just to take place virtually?
So, to clarify the date, I mean, I can walk you through how the visits, changed, but I just want to clarify, I want to answer your question correctly. So,
Yeah.
So the visits were virtual at that point.
Yes. And thank you for making me be very clear with my language. They had been virtual for a period of time leading up to January 1st.
Right.
Were they also supervised?
Yes.
By whom?
By a caseworker from Samaritas.
Was that your job or your wife's job to supervise those visits?
No.
Your presence in those visits or your wife's presence in those visits, what was that about?
That was just simply to, so the visits were virtual, obviously, in our home. Initially, when they first started, we were just using a laptop. As you can imagine, having any 4-year-old in front of a laptop, needed some sort of assistance because she would, push the buttons, and there were a few times where she turned the computer off. So we actually tried to help and assist with the visits to make them successful. And so we connected the laptop to a television, so True could sit at a table with toys and snacks and have this virtual visit on the TV. Now that TV privacy was upstairs in the bedroom, and as any responsible parent knows, to leave a 4-year-old by themselves in a room for an hour. So whether my wife or I, we would be in that room to assist to make sure that the computer was turned off or there was something, going on that True was safe. When I did it, I would step into our bathroom, so she didn't have any sight because I didn't want to interrupt. My wife, when she did it, would sit off camera in a corner, trying not to distract her. And the caseworker was, as you mentioned, supervising what was on the Zoom call from location.
But always there for those visits.
Yeah. So that's the way it started. When it moved from in-person supervised visits to virtual, that it became problematic with those visits for various reasons, and there was a decision that was made. I don't know all that went into that decision from the foster care agency, but they made the decision that the caseworker would actually come to our house and have the visit virtually with True in her room. And so we were no longer, once those started, we were not, for the most part, a part of those visits, except when the caseworker couldn't come.
How long had that been the case before January 1st?
I believe it was so the last visit happened towards the end of November, and I think that that was the case probably for a month and a half, possibly 2 months. The visits were not always consistent.
I was going to ask that. Why not?
Because of Ms. Simpson would cancel or not show up or show up late, and we get rescheduled. So it was a problem. We had several discussions with the foster care agency about how to improve and make that better for all of us. Yeah.
I think just one last issue. And it has to do with those 3 individuals entering your home that evening. You've talked about noises and you've described them. Was there any property damage? Tell us about that.
So there was the way I describe it is we had to fix all the property. There was several quotes from contractors, and then our insurance company had did an evaluation and paid out, and the total amount that was paid out from our insurance for everything was $50,000. A portion of that was from just the cleanup, and there was significant damage to our floor, obviously from the gunshots and the blood. There were sections of our floor that were removed because of that. There was damage to parts of our cabinetry that had to be done. There was damage to going up the stairs, the railing. There was several things that had to be repaired in that. There was damage to the front door, the main door and the screen door. The screen door was replaced. There was had to replace the hinges on the door, and there was sprays of paint that I haven't even done that yet, but that needs to be repaired. And yeah, that was pretty. I mean, there's a list from the insurance company of all the details, but that's what I can recover. So the damage to fix everything, which didn't even cover the floor, but it was paid out of about $15,000 from the insurance company, but that didn't even cover the floor.
Specifically as it pertains to damage to those doors, the screen door and the front door, were those items, those doors, damaged in any way before that incident that night?
No.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Anything else? No, no. All right. Sir, you may step down. Thank you very much for your testimony.
And Your Honor, for clarity, may he be released from his subpoena? I believe he desires to leave.
All right. Any objection? All right. Yes, you're released. Sir, take care.
Okay.
May call your next witness.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. David Kennedy for the people. At this time, the people would call Sergeant Jay back.
Sir, please come forward and be sworn.
Officer, testimony. Say and spell your name.
James Basso, Jamesso.
All right, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Basso. How are you doing today? Where is it that you're currently employed?
Northfield Township.
And how long have you been employed there?
I've been employed with Northfield Township for 5 years now.
Do you have prior police experience before joining the Northfield Township team?
31 years of police experience.
And in your capacity as a sergeant with Northfield Township Police Department, were you working on January 1st of 2025?
I was,
And were you dispatched to Noller Bend Drive?
I was,
And that's in Northfield Township in Washtenaw County?
correct.
Do you recall what time the dispatch came in?
Roughly 8:30.
Roughly 8:30. And do you recall what the nature of the dispatch was?
The caller stated his neighbor was on his porch and he had been shot in the face and in the chest.
And where did you respond from?
I was in the Eagle Garden subdivision, which is off East Shore Drive near Posey Drive.
And did you go straight to the address dispatched?
Yeah, it was a wintry day. The roads were kind of fairly snow covered, so it took me a little bit to get there just because of the condition.
Sure. And what address were you initially dispatched to, if you recall?
I don't recall the exact address.
Would a 2039 Noller Bend?
Sounds correct.
And what happened when you arrived there?
Officer Diacono was treating, later identified as Jeff Barnard. He was talking to Jeff and giving treatment, medical care to him. There was some concern of other potential victims at the house, Jeff's house.
Okay.
So myself, a couple of Ann Arbor officers and some deputies went to the neighbor's house and left officers Diacono and Musser to treat the patient.
Okay. Before we move on, did you observe any injuries on Jeffrey Bernhard when you made contact with him that night?
Yes.
Could you describe those injuries to the court?
Yeah, I went into the breezeway, he was sitting in a chair. The right side of his face had massive damage. Eye was completely swollen up, very bloody. We had removed his t-shirt and then there was a gunshot wound to his chest as well.
And at that point, are you relaying any information to dispatch or relaying any information to?
We're sharing as much information as we're getting between myself and the other officers that were initially on scene. We were sharing information over dispatch. It's the quickest and the most efficient way to do it.
Okay. And you said, and then you traveled to another home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall the address of that home?
House directly to the east of that residence that we were at.
Sure.
I do not recall the specific numbers. No.
Okay. What, a 2053 Noller Bend?
Yes, that would be the one.
And when you arrived at the home, was the front door of the home open or closed?
So the front door was closed. The garage door, the main garage door was open. The lights on were in the garage was on, as well as lights on within the house itself.
Did you observe any damage to the front door of the home?
No, we did not.
Could you describe to the court your entry into the home?
So once we had sufficient manpower and we waited for an Ann Arbor officer to get there with a ballistic shield where we had stacked up and made entry into the home. I had set up enough people to guard the exit to the garage to make sure as we went in one door, nobody was going out the other door. So we had some planning to put strategic people around the house to make sure as we went in. Once we got enough people, the front door was open, it was unlocked, closed but unlocked, and we entered in like a stack type formation behind the sheet.
And did you discover anything in the entrance of the home?
As you walk in the home, there's a hallway. There was a room initially to our left, which ended up being like a den or an office area. That hallway opened up into a bigger area with the living room on the left and kitchen on the right. As that hallway came in, we could see two legs kind of poking out on the floor into the hallway. As soon as we made entry, we saw it and we're like, we got somebody down, we see the legs. And that's when we continued down that hallway.
And at that time, did you know if there was anybody else in the home at all?
The only information we had was what we were relayed to us by Jeff, which was his wife was there and his father.
So what happens next?
We secured the one room on the left. We went into the kitchen area and we started to secure, making sure there was nobody in the living room. We went into the kitchen. Right immediately to our right, there was two sets of stairs, one that goes up and one that goes down. The Ann Arbor officers stood point there while I continued into the kitchen. And when I walked through the kitchen, there was another body down the hallway that goes to the garage, just like right around the kitchen corner.
What did you do next?
I cleared that hallway. And then there was a pantry area to the left. I cleared that, and then I took point by the stairs while the Ann Arbor officers went up and down and cleared the second story in the basement.
And at that point, did you check on the victims, or were you still in the process of clearing the home?
Once we had made sure everything was clear and there was nobody initially was there, I checked both patients for any signs of life, and there was.
You know, at this time, I'd like to approach with people's proposed exhibits 6 and 7.
Yes, you may.
Approach. Thank you, Your Honor. Start off with people's proposed exhibit number 6. Sergeant Basso, could you please tell the court what that image is?
So that is the image of Mr. Smith on the floor. That is the position that we found him in. His legs, these were the legs that were protruding down the hallway. The hallway would have been running like that.
And were you able to determine where the gunshot was, or?
Once I checked him, I did not roll him over or move him in any way, shape, or form at that point.
Okay.
So I had no idea where he was shot at.
And he's in that photograph in a lying down position?
Face down on his belly with a large pool of blood coming from underneath his head, chest area out.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to move on to the next exhibit, exhibit number 7. Could you tell the court what that photograph is?
That is the picture of Miss Bernard, the way she was as I entered the house.
And in that instance, were you able to determine where the gunshot was?
I did not move her. I'm assuming it was her head, just based off where the blood was coming from and her body positioning.
Your Honor, at this time, I would move for the admission of people's proposed exhibits number 6 and 7.
Any objection or voir dire?
No, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit 6 and 7 are admitted.
Did you then relay any information to dispatch at that point?
Yep, as we made in, every time we came across a body, we informed dispatch that we had a person down and we had a second person down. We also informed them that we were clearing the house with the initial search. We actually did 2. We did the initial one for adults.
Mhm.
We did a secondary one to look for any kids that were hidden because we knew that there were 2 kids in the home. We didn't know if maybe they were hiding in the home. That was still at an unknown at that point in time.
Did you locate any children in the home at all?
We did our secondary search, which was a little more detailed, looking in cabinets, looking at doors, looking into more smaller areas within the house where kids might be hiding.
And was that information relayed?
Yes.
And following the first and the secondary search, did you then secure the home?
Yeah, at that point, once we knew nothing was in the home, I secured the front door. I posted up one of the other Northfield officers at that door, and then I closed the garage door to maintain the security from that entrance. I wanted one way in and one way out for anybody going into the home.
And did you remain at the home throughout the night, or did you go somewhere else?
For the majority, but I was also, once Detective Roberts showed up and Lieutenant Powell, we had enough. They were doing the processing of the house. I went to try to notify next of kin. I then eventually went to the hospital and interviewed one of the subjects that got arrested.
And just one additional question. Throughout either your primary or secondary search of 2053 Noller Bend that night, did you notice any bullet casings?
So once I made an entry into the kitchen, Mr. Smith was on the floor. As soon as you turn right into the kitchen, there was like an island with some chairs. Along those stairwell, there were 2 that I can remember, brass bullet casings, pistols. Crystal Casey.
No more questions from Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
No questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Did you may step down? Yes. Thank you. May call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ellie Zend on behalf of the people. Your Honor, the people would call Deputy Jeff